Welcome to Public Safety Talk Radio, the podcast for all of our heroes in public safety, including law enforcement professionals, firefighters, EMTs, corrections officers, healthcare workers, and more. The show is proud to be a part of the growing National Police Podcast Network. This episode is sponsored by Police Mortgage. Police Mortgage is a full-service mortgage company dedicated to serving police officers and first responders. Founded in 2008, Police Mortgage offers a variety of mortgage products tailored to meet the needs of those who serve and protect. Police Mortgage, for first responders who are second to none. Hi, I'm Ken Bator, your host for Public Safety Talk Radio, and I'm here to wish you a happy new year, a wonderful 2026. And we'll get back to our interviews in the first Tuesday of January here. But I wanted to take a moment to talk just a little bit about the new year and goal setting, especially as it pertains to what we call our Four Pillars of Soundness. Since we started Public Safety Talk Radio, we wanted every episode to focus on one or more of those four pillars. And those four pillars are professional, financial, emotional, and physical. And I know from many of the interviews that I've done, especially because, as a podcaster, and I've said this before, one of the reasons us podcasters do podcasts is to learn themselves. And I've learned a ton from my guests in doing this podcast for the last, I believe it's been 5 years now. Wow. But I want to give you one tip for the new year for the physical pillar, the emotional pillar, the financial pillar, and the professional pillar that you can use in 2026. One of the things that my wife and I do every late December is we set goals for the next year. Now, we don't always achieve all of those goals, but the process and the activity brings us closer together and also begins the process of us, really understanding what we both want. Sometimes there is a little bit of compromise, but most of the time we find that we want the same things, which is awesome, of course. And we talk about things that we want to do for our health, things that we want to do for the house, things that we want to do for each other, such as travel and see new things and things that we want to do with our finances and so forth. And that activity has been really valuable for years. So I encourage you to do the same. And here are 4 tips. First off, the professional pillar. Now, I was never a first responder, but I've talked to thousands of them. And I can think back to a recent episode that we had with Jessica Flores from Next Shift, where she talked about you're more than just your law enforcement career. And I know personally, while I didn't get fired or leave a job in law enforcement or firefighting when I was in my early 30s, I got fired from an executive job that I worked really hard for. Some of it was definitely my fault. Certainly gave them reasons to let me go, and some of them were their fault. But I bring it back on me that if I didn't give them a reason, I would have probably still been there for a while. But from a professional pillar standpoint, remember that you're more than just your career. You're more than just a police officer. You're more than just a firefighter. Case in point, I've seen people that were police officers that were unfulfilled by that particular job, but really wanted to say be an EMT or a firefighter and still be in that public safety realm and have done very well. I've also seen, as you know, I started the Police Officers Credit Union Association over 20 years ago, and I've seen police officers be great police officers and then go on to be great executives at police credit unions. So understand that while the law enforcement career is a part of you, it's not all of you, that you can do something else. You can build something else. You could have a different career or another career after retirement. I think that there's a statistic out there that, a large percentage of police officers and firefighters, but especially police officers that retire, are actually dead within just a few years. What a terrible thing to work so hard in such a valiant position and then not be able to enjoy your retirement for more than a couple years before you're in the ground. So remember that you're more than just a police officer. That was certainly a source of pride for you, whether you're a firefighter, EMT, police officer, but there is more to you than just that great career that you had. On the emotional pillar, if you're struggling with something, you know that sometimes you just need to talk to somebody. I am not shy about saying that I'm an alcoholic in recovery. I will be sober 6 years come February 2026. I'm very proud of that. And I probably would have been sober longer if I had asked for help sooner. And one of the things that kept me from asking for help or even admitting that I had a problem was I felt I don't want anybody to know that I've got a problem, even though I'm starting to think that I've got a problem. I don't want to say, hey, I'm an alcoholic, I've got an issue, and have my wife leave me, have my friends leave me, have my clients leave me. And when I finally did hit bottom and asked for help and started the road back to, a semblance of sanity and control for myself, I found that I didn't lose anybody. My wife didn't leave me, my parents didn't leave me, my clients didn't leave me, my friends didn't leave me. So if you're that's something that you're worried about. In fact, I've said this before that many times, everybody that was in my life fell into one of two buckets after I got sober. One was, hey, you know what? What can I do for you? Is there anything I can help? I'm glad you're getting the help that you need. They were really supportive, or they were just apathetic, which was fine too. And they said, "Oh, okay, you're not drinking anymore. Well, we'll go on out. I'll have a beer. You could have a club soda or something," because it didn't affect their life. Don't worry about losing people. In the rare occasion that you would actually lose somebody in that situation, he or she probably shouldn't have been in your life anyway. So, as I've said before, sometimes you don't need like weeks and weeks of therapy or need to go to AA like I did. Sometimes if you're dealing with something and you know it's a problem, maybe sometimes you just need to talk to one person. And if that one person isn't somebody within your circle, family, friends, colleagues, there's plenty of peer support numbers out there. I'm on the board of the Wounded Blue. Go to the Wounded Blue website. They have a peer support line. I know How to Love Our Cops has a peer support line. I know that Cops has a peer support line. Talk to somebody. Sometimes maybe just having one conversation helps you move on to that next step, or helps you to just say, you know what? I talked to somebody. I'm better. I don't have a problem as hard as I thought it was, or as bad as I thought it was. I can move on having had a good conversation with somebody. Physical pillar. At 56, I know how rough it is to sometimes get in the gym. I also know from personal experience that sometimes you push it too hard. I've gotten a couple of minor but very annoying injuries just pushing it too hard in the gym. So, my advice to you from the physical pillar is to find something, in between. Is to look and see, all right, if the shoulder pain is just a little much, let's try using bands or doing yoga or doing a class or maybe walking. I found that, yeah, that middle ground of understanding, okay, listening to your body and say, hey, I feel good today. Let's go in the gym and lift weights. Or to say, you know what? I want to do something. I don't want to just sit on the couch, but, maybe my shoulder just won't, be my shoulder just won't allow for weightlifting today. I'm gonna walk. I'm gonna run. I'm gonna go on the treadmill. I'm gonna go on the elliptical. Something. I'm gonna go kayaking with my wife if you're near water, something like that, or my spouse. To do something. Sometimes it doesn't need to be your usual routine, but you want to do something to move your body. It's good for your health and good for your mind. And the last tip from the financial pillar is to look at things on paper.
I know when I was a raging alcoholic, I ran up a lot of debt and didn't want to look at it. It was part of a much bigger problem. I'm like, okay, if I don't look at it, it's not real. I'll just pay the minimum and be done with it. And I've paid almost all of that off now in almost 6 years. And the way I was able to do that is to look on paper. I created a spreadsheet of all of my debts. I created a spreadsheet, which was in essence kind of a budget. And I really, really paid close attention to where money was being spent and what was being paid off and why. And that helped me tremendously because sometimes you get the control of your finances by hitting it head on. By as scary as it may be, but actually looking at the numbers, whether it's on a piece of paper or a spreadsheet, that gives you the control back to be able to say, all right, this may not be great, but it's not terrible. And there are things that I could do to help my financial situation. So look at it on paper, look at it on screen, look at the full picture. That will help to give you your financial control back. So just a few tips going into 2026. We will go back to our usual episodes of great interviews with a lot of intelligent people that can help public safety professionals out there. But in the meantime, I wish you the start of an awesome 2026. Be safe, be well, and we'll be back with you next week with another great guest. Public Safety Talk Radio is produced by Bator Training and Consulting. Public Safety Talk Radio is also proud to be a part of the growing National Police Podcast Network. The National Police Podcast Network is a dedicated media network powered by the National Police Federal Credit Union, developed in partnership with experienced podcast professionals and public safety advocates. Learn more about the National Police Federal Credit Union at nationalpolicefcu.com.